Hey, what's up? Dust the Viking here. I wanted to redo my video on the patch notes because I feel like I misrepresented my stance on the game and the patch notes in general. The community was a lot more divided than I realized and kind of in the extremes, as you can tell by my comment section. So a lot of people are really like in the extremes on where the balance is. Some people think Demon's really underpowered. Some people think Demon is really overpowered. And, with that perspective, when I was going through these patch notes, everybody was like, oh no, these extremes are even worse now. But that's not really the reality of the game. The reality of Evil Dead is that this game is actually really well balanced. It blows Dead by Daylight out of the water. Like, Dead by Daylight's bad balance. This is really good balance. I was using the term game state health for a reason, because that's what a lot of these changes were for, is they were a balance, but not so much to tweak the balance, more to tweak the health of the game. This was to help cull oppressive playstyles, which I thought was good. Same with all this stuff. It was to open up variety in playstyles, things that were just good for the game. The only outlier to me was the 3 to 4 second nerf for revive, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but it's such a minor change. Most people probably don't even realize that this happened. It's a negligible change. It had very little impact on the actual game. So nothing here skews the balance heavily. This was probably the most impactful section of the entire patch, because we had significant number changes, especially with these two, getting substantial buffs, and Warrior Ash getting 2 sets of nerfs, but Warrior Ash was insanely bloated with stats. This change was about making Hunter Ash more skillful, is now going to be more powerful in the hands of a skilled player. When you're in a critical situation and you hit for 20% instead of 15%, that's going to be night and day. The only thing that I'm actually really adamant about is this change here, because this actually does impact the current state of the game. There are players that literally only play Cheryl because it was so hard to get the Shemp's Cola heals on the other supports, because that 1 extra meter was enough to offset latency and teammates running off, and it was a pretty big deal. And cutting that down to 5 is actually going to impact the current state of the game, to where there is going to be a noticeable discrepancy now between pre-made comps on comms and just groups of randoms. So this one thing right here, I am actually super adamant about. I not only want this rolled back, but I want all supports put up to 6 meters, maybe even 7. So moving on here, these other things, again, this is all game state health, making sure that there's more variety in gameplay styles. And if we get down here to Demon, we see like the car changes are the exact same thing. It's just giving them another viable tactic to work with, which is actually good for Survivor, because this is something, if Demons opt for car play, they're not doing possession spam, right? Overall, this stuff isn't too bad. Some of it goes in a direction that I didn't agree with, but the impact on the current state of the game isn't really that big of a deal, and the balance is still really good. And that's what all this was here. This is like, possession spam. And it's not that possession spam is super overpowered. It's that it is a low skill, high reward play style. And when you have that across the board, everybody's going to do that. It's going to get really old. And because it is high reward, you're going to have a lot of people win. And it's going to paint kind of a bad picture. Like, it's not good for the look of the game. You can kind of equate this to, not quite, but kind of like No One Escapes Death in Dead by Daylight. It's something that is actually balanced, but will often allow a lower skilled killer to perform at the same level as a higher skilled killer, right? Whereas like a higher skilled killer cannot take No One Escapes Death and do better. No One Escapes Death is just kind of what it is. It's pretty easy to pull off, but the results are what they are, right? A really high-skilled demon player will probably be utilizing a myriad of tactics, and so you'll see them do less possession spam. But they will still use possession because you should be using all the tools in your toolbox, right? So yeah, this doesn't destroy the balance of the game. It just moves it maybe in a direction that I didn't necessarily agree with, right? Now, some of you are probably like, no, 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 Dusk. I've dealt with possession spam. It wipes teams out constantly. There's literally nothing you can do about it. They just beat you to death. Okay, this is how you counter early game possession spam. If you are looking for a map fragment, you're still on that stage of the game, and all of a sudden, you hear the demon or you hear those portals rip open, you've been found, and oh boy, here it comes, that possession spam. Run to a car, get in the car, and drive away. Done. You just beat possession spam. Not near a car, run to a building with windows, and then just kite the window back and forth. Boom. You just dominated possession spam. And here's the great thing. A lot of demons have no idea what to do after you beat possession spam. That's the biggest mistake survivors make, is they fight the demon when they don't have to. Now, for you demon players, I'll give you some tips too, because I see demon players also do catastrophic mistakes. I had one yesterday where we were, I think, 3v1ing an objective, and I was playing Spear Henry, so I could have these giant AoE attacks, right? And the demon player kept spawning, 2 to 3 portals of Deadites right on top of us, which was a catastrophic misplay. Don't do that. Do not spawn Deadites on top of survivors, because you know what I did? I did 3 heavy attacks and killed every single Deadite that had spawned in a few seconds. Wiped the whole wave out all by myself. Now, I think some other people did throw in some shots or some attacks, but they didn't need to. Spawn your Deadites farther away, and you may think, yeah, but then they just get shot running in. Exactly. So many demon players don't understand that you don't always go for the win. A lot of the times, you're going for pressure. You're not trying to kill the survivors at every turn. You're trying to get them to use up their resources. So yeah, there's your hot tip. Don't spawn Deadites in on top of survivors. Spawn them farther away. If they start shooting them, they're using bullets. And that's a win for you. Anyway, I hope that clears up my stance on the patch notes. Sorry for the confusion. Trust me, the game is in a great spot. Even though I'm being very nitpicky on this stuff, that's what I do. I'm an analytical person. Do not fret, though. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.